The following matchup is being played with History Maker Baseball Express, a fast-playing baseball simulation board game, a property of Play Games LLC, copyright 2022, all rights reserved. Welcome to today's episode of the History Maker Baseball Express Hour. In today's episode, oh man, we are continuing our festivities for Cinco de Mayo week, even though Cinco de Mayo was yesterday. But today, we are going to continue celebrating Cinco de Mayo week, featuring some of the best players in baseball history to wear the number 5 on the back of their jersey as we rewind back the clock to 1985 as we revisit a wild and maybe a little controversial World Series as the Kansas City Royals take on the St. Louis Cardinals as we highlight the World Series from 1985 in the latest edition of World Series Rewind. Who will walk away from this matchup? Well, I guess you're going to have to tune in to find out sooner rather than later, because coming up next, we will have first pitch and game one for you. But before we get to that, let's have a look and say gracias and thank you to our official Play Game sponsors for sponsoring today's episode of the History Maker Baseball Express Hour. We would like to take time to say thank you to our official Play Game sponsors for sponsoring today's episode of the History Maker Baseball Express Hour. This episode, first of all, is being brought to you by your favorite Bitty Beer products. And again, if you choose to drink Bitty Beer, please remember to drink responsibly. Hey, it's a blend of hops, rice, and barley that gives Bitty Beer its taste. But we know better. It's our brewing process that gives our beer that one-of-a-kind flavor that no premium beer can match. Our vats have never been cleaned. There's an itty-bitty bit of history in every can. Bitty Beer, the beer for folks who can't afford better. And by Doc Cola, the official cola drink of the Play Games community. Doc Cola uses the finest ingredients to bring you that sugary blast of caffeine you've come to know and love. Twice the sugar and 3 times the caffeine of any other major. Doc Cola is sure to keep fired up from dawn till dusk. Take the Doc Cola challenge. See why our customers agree you'll never be able to wean yourself from a refreshing Doc Cola. And by Pizza Kingdom, the official pizza joint of the Play Games community. Pizza Kingdom, our signature New York style pizza, starts with crust. Then we layer on our homemade pizza sauce, then load your pizza up with mounds of cheese. When it comes out of the oven, piping hot, golden brown, and ready for you to enjoy. Then we give the majestic culinary work of art to Mikey, our 16-year-old delivery driver who was responsible as a tree. Pizza Kingdom, it's sheer perfection. Left the store. And by Suncoast Capital Banks. At Suncoast Capital, we live by one simple rule of investing. When our clients win, we win. When our clients lose, we win. Suncoast Capital, you know we're going to get all of your money anyway. And by Rubicon Wireless. Why pay $200 a month for wireless service when you get 4 lines for just $25 a month? With our tin can plan, you can access our wireless network that covers at 25% of coast to coast between the hours of 11 p.m. and 4:30 a.m. with unlimited text and messaging those hours, of course. So why overpay for service you cannot live out? Rubicon Wireless. And we're just about set to go for game one of this episode of World Series Rewind, featuring the 1985 World Series between the St. Louis Cardinals and the Kansas City Royals the the I-70 series meets the World Series. Your starting pitching matchup for game one is going to be none other than Charlie Leibrandt for Kansas City and John Tudor for St. Louis. Your lineups are out on screen. And with that being said, Leibrandt is just about to finish up his warm-up tosses, and we're about to get underway as Vince Coleman steps up to the plate. As Leibrandt's ready, Coleman is ready. Let's get to it from Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City for Game 1 of this episode of World Series Rewind. We'll begin this episode of World Series Rewind with a 1-3-3. Ace pitcher on Leibrandt. He's a semi-ace. The decider die says he's not, though. Sad sack on Coleman. He is not. So, therefore, it will be 1-3-3. Yes, an RBI check. And it looks like, since the decider die was used to check the ace quality on Leibrandt, we're going to have to decide if Coleman gets an RBI or not. Does he? He most certainly will, as Vance Coleman will get the Cardinals up on the board early in this one. And after a half inning of play, it's Cardinals 1, and the Kansas City Royals are coming to bat in the bottom half of the first inning. Two, 3, 5. Star pitcher on Tudor. He's not a star. Satsack on Willie Wilson. He's not. That's going to be a men on base result. -1 for the black die if flash. John Tudor does have semi-flash, and the decider die was not used. Star, no. Yes, it was not used. So therefore, Tudor has flash. So that 5 will be reduced to a 4. We'll put runners at the corners for Lonnie Smith off the men on base chart. 46, same reliever gets the strikeout. We have a lefty on righty matchup, so no. And again, when we say same, it's lefty versus lefty, righty versus righty. With that being said, it'll be a contact result, and I usually roll the red die for this. It's a 5. Champ on Smith. He's not a champ, so therefore it will be a pop-out, and that is going to smell the end of the inning for this for the first inning here at the K with the score Cardinals 1, Royals nothing. Two, 3-3 on Willie McGee. Ace pitcher for Leibrandt. He's a semi-ace. The decider die says no. Champ on McGee. He's a semi-champion. The decider die says he's not a champ. So therefore, 2, 3, 3. It's going to be a no runs result of a 3 dot. And that is going to be all she wrote for the top half of the second here at Kauffman Stadium with your score, Cardinals 1, Royals nothing. 2-2-3. Ace pitcher on Tudor. He is an ace pitcher, so therefore that's going to be a no runs result of a 2 dots, and that is going to be all she wrote for the first 2 innings of this one as the Cardinals lead the Kansas City Royals 1-0. 1-2-5. Pitcher not fresh. Well, again, I'm playing this as 3 full fresh and 3 semi-fresh, so about the baseline neutral for this game. So, in this case, Leibrandt is still fresh. Champ on Hair. No, Hair does not have Champ. So therefore, that is going to be a no runs result of a 2 dot. And that is going to be all she wrote for the top half of the third. We go to the bottom half of the third as the Cardinals lead it 1-0. 1-5-5. Let's see here. Here we are. Ace pitcher on Tudor. Yes, he has ace. So therefore, that's going to be a no runs result of a 5 blank. And that is going to do it for the first 3 innings of this one. The score after 3 innings, it's St. Louis Cardinals 1 and the Kansas City Royals nothing. Uh, 226. Ace pitcher for Lee Brandt. He's a semi-ace. The decider die says no. Man, oh man, Lee Brandt's getting nothing out of the decider die, while Tudor has. Utility on Jack Clark. He is not a utility, so therefore that's going to be another RBI check, and it looks like double check here. 226 ace. I mean, yes, the decider die was used to check the ace for Lee Brandt, which he didn't have. So we're going to ask, did Clark get the RBI? Oh my goodness, he did. So therefore, the black die, in this case, the white number, is a 2, not a 6. So therefore, the Cardinals are going to get 1 RBI out of this, and the score is now 2-0 in favor of the St. Louis Cardinals here in Game 1 of this episode of World Series Rewind. Three, 5, 6. Here we are. Workman pitcher on Tudor. No. Champ on White. No. That is going to be a no runs result with a possibility of a solo home run. Frank White has semi-home run king. Decider die says he does. That is going to be hit high, hit far, and out of here as Frank White hits a solo shot to get the Royals on the board. It's still Cardinals lead it 2-1. Two, 3. Ace pitcher for Lee Brandt. He is a semi-ace. Decider die says yes, he does have ace. So therefore, that is going to be a no runs result of a 2 blank, and that is going to be all she wrote for the top half of the 5th. Your score after 4.5 innings of play is still Cardinals 2, Royals 1. Three, 4, 5. Here we are. Star pitcher on Tudor. No. Sad sack on Steve Balboni. No. That is going to be a men on base result with a -1 for the black die if flash or control. John Tudor has double control, so that 4 will be reduced to a 2. However, he also has flash according to the decider die. So therefore, that 2 that 4 will be reduced to a 2 with the double control, and take away 1 for the flash. So that'll be putting the runners at first base for Daryl Motley. And he will take his hacks off the men on base chart. 24. Goldfielder makes the out. Terry Pendleton is a gold fielder, so therefore he is going to make the out. And that is going to be it for the the first 5 innings of play. Your score is still Cardinals 2, Kansas City Royals 1. One, 4, 5. Excuse me. Here we are. Ace or dynamic pitcher. Lee Brandt is a semi-ace. The decider die says he is. Therefore, it's going to be a no runs result of a 4 blank, and that is on Ozzie Smith, and that is going to be all she wrote for the top half of the 6th. After 5.5 innings of play, your score is still Cardinals 2, Royals 1. 4, 5, 6. Pitcher not fresh. And again, we're in the semi-freshness innings, and Tudor is considered not fresh. So therefore, that is going to be a men on base result with a base running adjustment. Sundberg is a stoic runner, so that 6 will be reduced to a 5. So it'll be second and third for Onyx Concepcion. He will take his hacks off the men on base chart. With a 12, Slugger hits home run. Unfortunately, Onyx Concepcion is not a slugger. Therefore, it's going to be a bases clearing single. 2 runs are going to score. The runner on third is going to score, and the runner on second is going to score. The Kansas City Royals take a 3-2 lead over their rivals in the St. Louis Cardinals to lead game 1 of this episode of World Series Rewind by the score of 3-2. Excuse me. We go to the 7th, and it seems the bullpen for the Cardinals is going, and Lee Brandt is going to finish out, is going to probably go 7 innings here, maybe possibly one more to get the bullpen, to get, or excuse me, as we see both pens being active so far. Lee Brandt is going to stay in. With a 1-1-6, Struggler on Lee Brandt. No. Utility on Nieto. He is a semi-utility. The decider die says he's not. So therefore, that is going to be an RBI check. Does he get the RBI? Oh my goodness, he does. So therefore, the Cardinals, courtesy of Tom Nieto, will tie it up at 3-all heading to the stretch. And the Royals manager is not going to take any chances. He's going to take his starter out of the game, and hopefully the bullpen can take over from and allowing the bullpen to calm things down and allowing the Royals to hopefully get ahead to try to win this one. As we head to the stretch, it's Royals 3, Cardinals 3. And the fine patrons here at Kauffman Stadium has sang a good, rousing rendition of God Bless America, along with Take Me Out to the Ball Game, as we head to the bottom half of the 7th, and a new pitcher for St. Louis is coming into the ball game. Todd Worrell will be the new pitcher for the Cardinals, as he has the star, flash, and control qualities. But for this at-bat against Willie Wilson, he will have the full extent of getting the control quality. With that being said, the score, as we head to the bottom half of the 7th and resume play, is all knotted up at 3 apiece between the 1985 St. Louis Cardinals and the 1985 Kansas City Royals for this installment of World Series Rewind. Triple one. So this is going to be a experience check. So let me grab out those charts. Here we go. We'll roll the white die for this, or the black die for this one. In this case, the white number 3. It reads icon batter. Yes, Willie Wilson is an icon. So therefore, that is going to be a men on base result. And it looks like they will put the runners at first and third for Lonnie Smith, as we will jump over to the men on base chart for his turn up at the dish. 35, control pitcher. Worrell is back to a semi-control pitcher, so therefore the decider die says no. So therefore, that is going to be a base on balls, and that is going to load up the bases for none other than our highlight player for Cinco de Mayo week, George Brett, as he wore the number 5 with Kansas City. 44, wild pitcher. Worrell is not wild. So therefore, that's going to be a flyout to end things here in the top half, or excuse me, in the bottom half of the 8th, or excuse me, the 7th inning, I should say. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. The score after 7 innings of play, as we see a new pitcher for the Kansas City Royals trot in from the pen, your score is all even up at 3-all between the Cardinals and the Royals. Time And with that being said, the new pitcher for the Kansas City Royals is going to be Joe Beckwith. It's probably not reasonable to waste your closer game one. So the Kansas City Royals will decide to go with Joe Beckwith as he has this full flash and semi-control qualities. But for this at-bat against Tito Landrum, he will have the full extent use of the control quality. With that being said, we go to the eighth. We go to the top half of the eighth with the score all dead even at 3 here for game one of this episode of World Series Rewind, featuring the St. Louis Cardinals and the Kansas City Royals. 2-4-6. Here we are. Star pitching on Beckwith. No. Landrum, is he a champion? No. That is going to be a no runs result with a possibility of a solo home run. However, the black die is not a 6, though, as Landrum does have a semi-slugger, which is considered the designated hitter for game one, since we're in an American League stadium. And with that being said, it's going to be ending up being a no runs result of a 4 blank, and that is going to be all she wrote for the top half of the eighth. Your score is all dead even at 3 between the Cardinals and the Royals. One, 3-3. Ace pitcher on Worrell. No. Sad sack on Orta. No. That's going to be an RBI check. This could possibly give them the lead. And the decider die says no. So therefore, that's going to be a no runs result of a 1 dot for Worrell. And we go to the 9th inning, all dead even at 3. Who's going to take advantage to give their team a 1-0 lead here in this episode of World Series Rewind? 1-1-3. Struggler on Beckwith. No. Utility on Coleman. Get out of here. When is Vance Coleman ever a utility? Or excuse me, Vince Coleman. When is he ever a utility player? Unbelievable. So therefore, that's going to be an RBI check. And unfortunately, the decider die says not today. So therefore, that's going to be a no runs result of a 1 blank. And we go to the bottom of the 9th. Frank White has a chance to walk it off. He did hit a home run early in this game. Can he do it again? Let's head to the bottom of the 9th now with the score. Royals 3, Cardinals 3. 1-4-6. Ace or dynamic pitcher. Worrell is neither an ace or is he a dynamic. Sad sack on White. No. Oh, it's better. Men on base result, -1 for the black die if control, and Worrell has semi-control, and he does. Therefore, the Royals are going to play it safe for right now, as they're going to put the runners on at first and second for Steve Balboni. This could possibly be the game here, folks. We go to the men on base chart with a 34. Slugger hits double. Oh, Balboni is not a slugger, but it doesn't really matter. That is going to be a single and the ball game. 2 runs are going to score, but they only needed 1. The final score here in the bottom of the 9th, Steve Balboni walks it off for Kansas City. They only needed 1 run off the single, but it's going to end up being a final score of Kansas City Royals 4, Cardinals 3. We're just about sitting ready to go for game 2 of this World Series Rewind matchup between the Kansas City Royals and the St. Louis Cardinals. Your pitching matchup for Game 2 of this episode of World Series Rewind will feature Joaquin Andujar for St. Louis, as he has the semi-star and semi-control qualities, and he will be opposed by Danny Jackson in Game 2, a lefty versus a righty. Unbelievable. Wow. As Jackson has semi-star, semi-flash, and semi-control. With that being said, Motley is all set and ready to go. And so are we. Andujar's ready. Motley's ready. Let's get rolling here for Game 2 of this episode of World Series Rewind. We'll begin with a 3-6-6. Workman pitcher on Andujar. No. Hero on Motley. Not even close. So, therefore, that is going to be a no-runs result with a possibility of a solo home run. Motley does have semi-home run king. However, the decider die says he does not. So, therefore, that's going to be a no-runs result of a 6 blank to end the top half of the first. Just like unlike Game 1, where the Cardinals took the lead early, the Kansas City Royals decided, you know what, we're not going to play that far out. So therefore, it's Royals nothing, and the Cardinals are coming to bat in their half of the first inning. 3-4-5. Star pitcher on Jackson. He's a semi-star. The decider die says he is. So therefore, that is going to be a no-runs result of a 5 dot for flash and a blank for control. So with that being said, that is going to do it for the first inning of play. And your score after 1 inning of play, you can see it is a big, fat goose egg. 1-1-2. Ace pitcher on Andujar. No. Sat sack on Sundberg. No. That's going to be an RBI check. And folks, unbelievable. The decider die says yes. It will be a run for the Kansas City Royals as Sundberg delivers an RBI. And that is going to be all she wrote for the top half of the second. Your score after 1.5 innings of play is Kansas City 1, St. Louis nothing. This roll is for the bottom half of the second of a 2-5-5. Struggler on Jackson. No. Utility on Tom Hare. No. That's going to be a men on base result. -1 for the black die if flash. And again, when we say black die, it's the white number being shown on screen so that way you guys have a chance to see what the heck is that number again. But again, it's a -1 for the black die if flash. Jackson does not have flash according to the decider die. So therefore, that 5 is going to stay put at runners at second and third for Jack Clark off the men on base chart. We have a 36. Active batter gets runners advanced to bases single plus a stolen base. Unfortunately, Jack is a stoic runner. So therefore, it will be a contact result. And I usually roll the red die for my contact chart results. We get a 5. Champ on Clark. He's not a champ. So therefore, that is going to be a pop-out to end the inning. And that is going to do it for the first 2 innings here at Old Busch Stadium. Your score is Royals 1, Cardinals nothing. 1-1-5. Struggler on Andujar. No. Utility on Onyx Concepcion. Just 1-1-5. Yes. Utility on Concepcion. No. That is going to be a men on base result. -1 for the black die if flash. Andujar does not have flash. So we'll place the runner out on at first base for Willie Wilson. He will take his cracks off the men on base chart of a 12. Slugger hits home run. Willie Wilson is not a slugger, so therefore, that is going to be a single and nothing more. So the Score stays put right where it's at. The Royals threaten but do not score. We go to the bottom of the third here at Old Busch Stadium. The score is Royals 1, Cardinals nothing. 1, 2, 3. Workman or struggler on Jackson? He's neither. Champ on Andy Van Slyke? No. That is going to be a no runs result of a 3-dot for Flash and a 3-dot as well for Control. And that is going to do it for the first 3 innings of this one. Your score after 3 innings is Royals 1, Cardinals nothing. One, 4, 5 on Andujar. Is he an ace or dynamic pitcher? He is not. Sad sack on Lonnie Smith. No. That is going to be a men on base result with a -1 for the black die if Flash. Andujar does not have Flash, so that one is going to stay put, and we'll place the runners at first with number 5, George Brett. He'll take his swings off the men on base chart. With a 26, home run king hits home run. Unfortunately, George Brett is not a home run king, so therefore that is going to be a contact result. And we have a 2, sat sack. George Brett is not a sat sack. The Royals are going to extend their lead to 2-0 over the St. Louis Cardinals. And the score now is Royals 2, Cardinals nothing as we head to the bottom half of the 4th inning. Terry Pendleton will lead things off for the Cardinals. And we ask Jackson on a 2-3-5, is he a star pitcher? He's a semi-star. The decider die says he is. So therefore, that is going to be a no runs result of a 2-dot for Flash and a dot for Control. So that is going to do it for the first 4 innings of this one. Your score is Kansas City 2, St. Louis nothing. 156. Ace pitcher on Andujar. No. 156. Sat sack on White. He is not. So therefore, that's going to be a men on base result with a -1 from the black die if Flash. Andujar does not have Flash. So that is going to put the runners on second and third for Steve Balboni to hit off of the men on base chart. With a 34, slugger hits double. Oh, Steve Balboni is not a slugger, so therefore that is going to be a single and probably the end of the day for Joaquin Andujar as he delivers a go-ahead single, or I should say delivers 2 more runs for Kansas City as they make it now 4-0. And we do see that bullpen going, folks. For St. Louis. So expect a new pitcher when we get to the next half, when we get to the 6th inning here at Old Busch Stadium. But after 4.5 innings of play, your score is Kansas City 4, St. Louis nothing. One, 2, 4 on Jackson. Ace pitcher? No. Champion on Smith. He's not a champion, so therefore that is going to be a no runs result of a 4 blank for Flash and a blank for Controls. And nothing comes up here in the no runs results for Danny Jackson when it comes to Flash and Control. So therefore, after 5 innings of play, your score is Royals 4, Cardinals nothing. And we do see a new pitcher trotting in from the pen for the Cardinals. We'll see who that is after we take this quick timeout. And we are back here at the stadium for Game 2 of this episode of World Series Rewind. And we have a new pitcher for St. Louis as Ken Daly will be the new pitcher as he has star, flash, and control credited to his name. But since he came out of the pen and he has most of the qualities that we would be normally would be given a pitcher when he comes out of the pen to keep things right at bay, we will not be giving Ken Daly any qualities for this at bat against Daryl Motley. With that being said, we head to the sixth inning. Your score is Kansas City Royals 4, St. Louis Cardinals nothing. 166. Ace pitcher on Daly, no. Sad sack on Motley, no. That is going to be a men on base result with a base running adjustment. And Motley is a neutral runner. The bases are loaded, full of Kansas City Royals for Jim Sundberg off the men on base chart. 26. Home run king, it's home run. Sundberg is not a home run king, so therefore that's going to be a contact result. And it is going to be a 6. Oh, and that's going to be a ground out. And wow. Talk about getting your way out of trouble. And after 5.5 innings of play, your score remains Kansas City 4, St. Louis nothing. Jackson says he's still good to go against Tom Nieto. 146. Ace or dynamic pitcher on Jackson? No. 146. Here we are. Stat sack batter on Nieto? No. That's going to be a men on base result. -1 for the black die of control. And it looks like that Jackson does have control. So therefore, that is going to that 4 is going to end up reducing it to a 3. And the Cardinals are going to play it safe, putting the runners out at first and second for Vince Coleman off the men on base chart. We have a 12. Slugger hits home run. Unfortunately, Coleman is not a slugger. So therefore, that is going to be a single. A run is going to come home to score. There goes the shutout as the as the Cardinals get on the board, courtesy of Coleman's RBI single, as the runner on second scores and the runner on first goes to third. With Coleman going to first and nothing more, your score after 6 innings of play is Royals 4, Cardinals 1. One, 3, 4. Ace pitcher on Daly? No. Champ on Onyx Concepcion? No. I'm sorry, no. So that is going to be a no runs result of a 3 dot, and that's going to do it for the top half of the 7th. We head to the stretch. Your score is Royals 4, Cardinals 1. We continue on here with the bottom half of the 7th as the fine patrons here at the stadium sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," along with a rousing rendition of "God Bless America." And we resume play with a 5-6-6. Star on Jackson. He's a semi-star. The decider die says he does have star. So therefore, that's going to be a no runs result of a 5 dot for flash and also another dot for control. And that is going to do it for the first 7 innings of play. Your score is still Royals 4, Cardinals 1. Willie Wilson is now the batter for Kansas City. We have a 1-4-4. Struggler on Daly. No. Sad sack on Wilson. No. That's going to be a men on base result with the -1 for the black die if control. Daly has control, so therefore that 4 will be reduced to a 3. We'll place the runners at first and second for Lonnie Smith. We'll roll for his hacks off the men on base chart with a 15. Scrapper hits double. Unfortunately, Lonnie Smith is a semi-scrapper. Unfortunately, the decider die says he's not. So therefore, that is going to be hit high, hit far, and hit out of here for a 3-run home run to put this game to bed with now the score Royals 7, Cardinals 1. Two, four, five. Two, four, five. Here we are. Struggler pitcher on Jackson. He's not. Sad sack on Hare. He is not. So therefore, that's going to be a men on base result with a -1 for the black die of flash or control. He does not have flash, so that 5 stays put. But does he have control, though? He does. So that 5 will be reduced to a 4, putting the runners at the corners for Jack Clark. And we do see that bullpen going for Kansas City just in case things implode here with a 7-1 with a 6-run lead for the Royals. We head to the men on base chart for the at-bat of Jack Clark. With a 26, home run king, it's home run. Jack Clark is not a home run king, so therefore that is going to be a contact result. It will be a 2. Sat sack on Clark. Nope. The Cardinals are going to get one of those runs back as the the Cardinals scratch out 1 run, and after 8 innings of play, your score is Royals 7, Cardinals 2. One, 2, 5. Pitcher not fresh. Well, again, Daly is the bullpen arm, so he is considered fresh. Champ on George Brett. He is a semi-champion. The decider die says he's not. So therefore, that is going to be a no runs result of a 1 blank, and that is going to smell the end of the top half of the 9th. Your score after 8.5 innings of play, as Danny Jackson will trot back out to the mound. The manager is trusting him to finish this game off, to save the bullpen. The score is Royals 7, Cardinals 2. One, 1, 2. Ace pitcher on Jackson. No. Sat sack on Andy Van Slyke. No. That's going to be an RBI check, and unfortunately, the decider die says no. That is going to be the ball game with a no runs result of a 2 blank for flash and a blank for control, and that is going to be it, folks. Game 2 goes to the Kansas City Royals, this time by a final score of 7-2. And we're just about set to get underway for Game 3 of this episode of World Series Rewind, as the Kansas City Royals have already taken the first 2 games of this set. Can they go for the sweep? Let's find out, as your pitching matchup for this for Game 3 is going to be Brett Saberhagen for Kansas City and Danny Cox for St. Louis. Brett Saberhagen has the star, semi-flash, and double control qualities, while Danny Cox has almost equal, but he has the full star, semi-flash, and control qualities. With that being said, Terry Pendleton will lead us off for Game 3 of this episode of World Series Rewind. You're with the Kansas City Royals on the verge of sweeping the Cardinals here for this episode. Let's see if they can do it, as Saberhagen is all set and ready to go. And Pendleton is ready. Let's play ball from the K here at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City, Missouri. We have a 3-4-6 to begin game number 3. Pitcher not fresh. Well, again, we're in the freshest inning, so why would we be asked that? Hero batter on Pendleton. He is not. So therefore, that's going to be a no runs result with the possibility of a solo home run. Pendleton does not have home run king. Neither does he have a slugger. So therefore, that is going to be a no runs result of a 3-dot, and that is going to do it for the top half of the first. The Cardinals scratch out nothing, and the Royals are now coming to bat in their bottom half of the first inning. Oh, wow, another 3-4-6. Pitcher not fresh. Well, again, we're in the full freshness inning, so he is still considered fresh. Hero batter on White. No. That is going to be a no runs result with a possibility of a solo home run. Frank White has semi home run king. This time the decider die behaves. It is going to be hit high, hit far, and out of here as Frank White delivers a leadoff home run for Kansas City as they take a 1-0 lead after 1 inning of play. One, 4-6. Ace or dynamic pitcher on Saberhagen? No. 1-4-6. Here we are. Stat sack on Smith. No. That's going to be a men on base result. -1 for the black die if control. Saberhagen has double control, so that 4 is going to be reduced to a 2, and we'll put Smith out on at second base for Tom Nieto off the men on base chart with a 56. Patient batter draws the walk. Nieto is not patient, so therefore that's going to be a contact result. And I usually roll the red die for this. We have a 4. Champ or hero. Nieto is neither, so therefore that is going to be a ground out to end the top half of the second here at the K. Your score is Kansas City Royals 1, St. Louis Cardinals nothing. 3-4-5. Oh my goodness. 3-4-5. Star pitcher. Cox is a star, so therefore that's going to be a no runs result of a 3-dot, and that is going to do it for the first 2 innings of play here at Kauffman Stadium for Game 3 of this episode of World Series Rewind. Your score is Royals 1, Cardinals nothing. 1-1-2. Ace pitcher on Saberhagen. No. Sat sack on Cesar Cedeno. For this at bat, for this game, he is considered the designated hitter. We ask, is Cedeno a sat sack? He's not. And therefore that's going to be an RBI question mark result. And unfortunately, the decider die says no. So therefore, that's going to be a no runs result of a 2 blank. And that is going to be all she wrote for the first 2.5 innings of this one. Your score is still Royals 1, Cardinals nothing. Three, 5, 6. Workman on Cox. No. Champion on Motley. No. That's going to be a no runs result with the possibility of a solo home run. Motley is semi home run king, but the decider die says no. So therefore, that's going to be a no runs result of a 6-dot, and that is going to do it for the first 3 innings of this game, of Game 3 for this episode of World Series Rewind. Your score after 3 innings of play, the Royals lead it 1-0. We have a 4-4-5. Workman pitcher on Saberhagen. No. Hero batter on Coleman. No. That's going to be a no runs result of a 5 blank. And that is going to do it for the first 3.5 innings of this one. Still, the Royals lead it 1-0. 136. Ace pitcher on Danny Cox. No. Hero batter on Sundberg. No. Hero batter. No. 136. Yeah. So no runs result with a possibility of a solo home run. However, the black die is not a 6. So therefore, it's going to be a no runs result of a 6 blank. And that's going to do it for the first 4 innings here at the K. Your score is Kansas City 1, St. Louis nothing. Two, 4, 5. On for McGee, is that bad? 2, 4, 5. Here we are. Struggler pitcher on Saberhagen. No. Sad sack on McGee. No. That's going to be a men on base result. -1 for the black die if flash or control. Saberhagen has double control, so that 5 will be reduced to a 3. But the decider die says no to flash. So therefore, that is going to end up being yes, 2, 4, 5. Yes. So McGee will end up so the runners will end up playing it safe for first and second for Tom Hare to bat off the men on base chart. With a 45, fresh pitcher gets the ground out. We're in the semi-fresh innings as usual. I play it as 3 full fresh, 3 semi-fresh. So in this case, Saberhagen is still considered fresh. He will get the ground out to end the top half of the 5th, and your score is still Royals 1, Cardinals nothing. Four, 4, 4, 5. Workman pitcher on Cox, no. Hero batter on Concepcion, no. That's going to be a no runs result of a 4 dot, and that is going to end up sealing up the deal for the first 5 innings of this one. Your score is Royals 1, Cardinals nothing. Two, 3, 5. Star pitcher on Saberhagen. Yes, sir. Brett Saberhagen is a star, so therefore that's going to be a no runs result of a 3 blank, and that is going to do it for the first 5.5 innings of this one. Still, the Royals hang on to a dire 1-0 lead. 2, 5, 6. Here we are. Workman pitcher on Cox. No. Satsack on Wilson. No. That is going to end up being a men on base result, -1 for the black die if flash. Cox has semi-flash. The decider die was not used. Yes, it was not used. So therefore, that 2 will be reduced to a 1 since Cox has flash. And that is going to bring up Lonnie Smith off the men on base chart. We have a 26. Home run king, it's home run. Unfortunately, Lonnie Smith is not a home run king, so therefore it will be a contact result, and I usually roll the red die for my contact chart results. We have a 4. Champ or hero on Smith. He's not. He's not either a champ, neither is he a hero. So therefore, that is going to be a ground out to end the threat, the Royals threat, but do not score. So therefore, it remains Kansas City 1, Cardinals nothing. Saberhagen is still good to go as we hit the 7th inning here in game number 3 with a 2, 4, 5. Struggler on Saberhagen. No. Satsack on Van Slyke. is no. So therefore, that's going to be a men on base result, -1 for the black die. If flash or control, Saberhagen has double control, so that 4 will be reduced to a 2. And he does have flash, so that 2 will be reduced to a 1. So Van Slyke will hit the base, will hit first base for Terry Pendleton to bat off the men on base chart. With a 13, fresh relief pitcher gets the pop out. We're in the in this case, Saberhagen is still considered fresh since he is still allowing a shutout so far. But I think I may have just jinxed it here. But he is not fresh. So therefore, that is going to be a double and an RBI to tie the game up at 1. There goes the shutout. And the Kansas City Royals manager is going to make his way out to the mound to have a little chat with his starter. And he is telling him, can you get this next guy out? And he says, I hope I can. And he says, we got the bullpen active for you just in case. But the Cardinals tie it up thanks to Terry Pendleton's RBI double. So the runner is now on second base for Ozzie Smith. And then it looks like the coach is going to stick with Saberhagen to see if he can get out of this mess here. With a 12, slugger hits home run. He's not a slugger. So therefore, that is going to be a single. And another run is going to come across to score. The Cardinals take the 2-1 lead heading to the stretch. That is probably going to be the end of the night for Brett Saberhagen as he leaves with a 2-1 Cardinals lead coming back from the dead, down 1-0. The Cardinals lead it as we head to the stretch, 2-1. We continue on here with the play for game 3 with a 1-2-4. Ace pitcher on Cox. No. Champion on George Brett. He is a semi-champ. The decider die says he's not. So therefore, that is going to end up being a no-runs result of a 1 blank. And that is going to smell the end of the inning for the first 7 innings of play here at the K with your score, Cardinals 2, Royals 1, as we see a new pitcher for Kansas City trotting in from the pen, and we will find out who that is after we take this really quick timeout. And we are back here at the stadium as we do see the closer for Kansas City, even though it's close. Dan Quisenberry is going to be trotting in from the pen as we see he has the semi-ace and double control qualities. But for this at-bat against Tom Nieto, he will have the full extent of the ace quality. With that being said, the Cardinals lead it over the Kansas City Royals 2-1 as we resume play here in the top half of the 8th inning. 1-3-4, ace pitcher on Quisenberry. We said that he would get the full usage of the ace quality against this for this at bat against Tom Nieto, and he will have it. So therefore, that is going to be a no runs result of a 4 dot, and that is going to do it for the top half of the 8th. The Royals really need to dig down deep in order to find a way to sweep the Cardinals here in this episode of World Series Rewind. We head to the bottom half of the 8th as we see a new pitcher trotting in from the pen for St. Louis as the Cardinals lead it 2-1 over the Kansas City Royals. Timeout. It seems the St. Louis Cardinals are going to bring in their closer as well as we go closer for closer to close this thing out, as Jeff Lottie will be the pitcher for St. Louis, and he will have the full extent of getting the flash quality for this at-bat in the bottom half of the 8th against Hal McRae, the designated hitter. We'll begin the bottom half of the 8th with a 2-6-6. Star pitcher on Lottie. No. Champ on McRae. No. That is going to be a no runs result. And guess what, folks? The Royals have tied the game. Hal McRae does have slugger. The black die is a 6. So therefore, Hal McRae will hit one high and far and into the Kansas City Knights to tie it up at 2-all as we head to the ninth inning, as Dan Quisenberry is trotting out of the dugout with the score all dead even at 2 apiece. Three, 4-4. Here we are. Workman pitcher on Quisenberry. No way. Satsack on Cedeno, the DH for this game for the Cardinals. He is not. So therefore, that's going to be a men on base result. -1 for the black die if control. Saberhagen has double control. So that 4 will be reduced to a 2. Putting the runner on at second base for Vince Coleman. And we will roll off the men on base chart for his hacks, for his turn at the plate of a 23. Eager grounds out. Coleman is a semi-eager. However, the decider die says no. So therefore, that's going to put Coleman on at first with a walk. And that is going to bring up Willie McGee off the men on base chart. 25. Iron fielder commits the error. Frank White is not an iron fielder, so therefore that is going to be a ground out to end the top half of the ninth. And guess who's coming to the bat, folks, for Kansas City? Steve Balboni has a chance to walk things off yet again as we head to the bottom half of the ninth. It's all dead even at 2 between the Kansas City Royals and the St. Louis Cardinals. 1-2-4. Ace pitcher on Lottie. Oh, he is an ace pitcher. Therefore, that's going to be a no runs result. We're going to extra innings. Here for game 3, it is really literally a winner take all situation. Your score is after regulation is Cardinals 2, Royals 2. 4-5-5. Workman pitcher on Quisenberry. No. 4-5-5. Here we are. Utility on Hare. No. That is going to be a men on base result. -1 for the black die if flash or control. Saberhagen has double control. That 4 will be reduced to a 2. The winning run is on at second base for Jack Clark to hit off the men on base chart of a 14 scrapper hit single. Unfortunately, Jack Clark is not a scrapper. That is going to be a double. And the go-ahead run has been scored for St. Louis as the Cardinals take the lead 3-2 over the Kansas City Royals, as we will continue to roll off the men on base chart for Andy Van Slyke with a 25. Iron fielder commits the error. Daryl Motley is not an iron fielder, so therefore that is going to be a ground out, and the Royals have a chance to extend this game with possibly one of the biggest swings of this series coming at the hands of Jim Sundberg. We head to the bottom of the 10th with the Cardinals leading it 3-2. 2-4-4. Oh my goodness. Ace pitcher. Lottie is an ace. Oh my goodness. The Cardinals are going to hang on to beat the Kansas City Royals, prevent the sweep from happening. But the Royals do take this episode of World Series Rewind 2-1 as the Cardinals salvage game 3 by the final score of 3-2, as it will be a no runs result of a 4 dot for Flash and a dot for control. Oh my word. So again, stay tuned for the game summary for game 3, as well as what's coming up next here for the History Maker Baseball Express Hour. And we will see you next time here for another great episode of the History Maker Baseball Express Hour. Once again, your final score: the Cardinals prevent the sweep at the hands of the Royals, winning it 3-2 in 10 innings. We hope that you enjoyed today's episode of World Series Rewind as we rewound the clock back to 1985 and featured the 85 World Series participants in the Kansas City Royals and the St. Louis Cardinals. Well, I guess we ran out of time for today, but never fear. Let's see what's coming up next time here on the History Maker Baseball Express Hour. And it looks like we're going back to full play mode as we are going to fast forward the clock to October 22nd, 2011, as we play Game 3 of the 2011 World Series. Your probable starters are Kyle Loesch and Matt Harrison as the St. Louis Cardinals take on the Texas Rangers. And guess who, folks? We are going to be featuring in that game is none other than our final player that we are going to be highlighting for Cinco de Mayo week, who wore the number 5 on the back of his jersey in Albert Pujols. Will Pujols strike again for that he did in real life on this date? Well, I guess you're going to have to tune in next time as we go to full play mode for the History Maker Baseball Express Hour. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the History Maker Baseball Express Hour that was being played with History Maker Baseball Express. We look forward to bringing you more matchups of Rivalry Night, World Series Rewind, Cross Era Showdown, and a blast from the past as we revisit some classic and memorable games from Major League Baseball throughout the 2026 Major League Baseball regular season.